Welcome to First and 10. I'm Josh Rodriguez. I'll be your host. This is supposed to be our first take in 10 minutes. At this point, it kind of not really meets the 10-minute mark. I don't think this one will either, but that's okay. I'm going to get through these predictions, at a fairly good clip here for you. So we're going to go through the cotton, the peach, the orange, and the Fiesta Bowl. A couple of these games really are, I don't know, for lack of a better word, frustrating, in the way that they're happening. And I can't wait for next year when we have a 12-team playoff. I'm sure just like the rest of you, we're like, okay, let's get this over with. We had 8 legitimate teams that really could have been playoff teams this year. I think there was really 8. Some of you will say, there's 10 or full 12. Either way, it would be way better than this 4-team invitational that we've got going, but it is what it is. We're under the system we're under for the last year. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the games. All right, the Cotton Bowl. That's right, Ohio State and Missouri. This is a great matchup. It really, really is. The line is a pick'em. I've seen it at 1, but I think it's a pick'em right now. And a couple interesting things happen here. Ohio State opened as a favorite, but then Kyle McCord said he's transferring, and that has shifted the line. Julian Fleming as well, the former 5-star recruit. He is gone as well, so something to keep an eye on there. And Missouri has pretty much everybody back. So Missouri's going to be motivated. I think they're going to be locked in, ready to attack. Remember, Missouri is standing on business. Standing on business. That's Missouri, right? And so we're going to see if they can stand on business against Ohio State. They're going to have to be really sharp. Ohio State is going to have to be up for this game. They're going to need to get up for this game because this is a good Missouri team. Remember, this team almost beat Georgia. This is 2 years in a row. They've really taken Georgia down to the wire. And so Ohio State may have some other opt-outs. We haven't heard yet. But obviously, I think some are expected. So we'll see who ends up there. And I don't think Missouri is expecting anybody at all to be out for this game. And I think they're getting healthy. So, we could talk about a couple stats here. And we go to that. And so let's go with a couple keys right now. Missouri is 25th in points per game. Ohio State 32nd points per game. They're really close though, but they're only 1 point apart. The defense, and this is a big key here. Ohio State to me has had the most consistently dominant defense in the entire country all year long. I think they're just really good on defense. The best pass defense in the country. And Missouri, on the other hand, is 57th in yards per play yielded. So there's something to look at there. Even though the run defense has been better, and that's where Ohio State is going to probably lean a little bit in the run game when you're breaking in a new quarterback. So the prediction, what do we think is going to happen here? So the bowl games are hard to pick, and this goes for every single bowl game. Bowl games are incredibly difficult. It's like early season matchups. We think we know what this team is, but we don't know. And that's an odd thing to say at the end of the season, but everybody knows right now college football, the postseason is broken. Thank goodness this is the last year that we have to deal with that. But you have so many transfers out. You've got coaching carousel that happens. These teams haven't played since late November. Neither of these teams have played since late November. So that's a crazy amount of time to have in between a game, between being on the football field. There's a difference. These guys have just been practicing. It's like, they're back at fall camp. I mean, it's essentially the same amount of time as fall camp. So from the start to the end. Anyway, I'm going to be interested to see who's motivated to play this game. Who's here? Who's motivated? I think Missouri is trying to use this game as a lot of different things. But I will say, kind of heading into next year as a big springboard for momentum. I think they're going to use this to show the country that Missouri is for real. I think that's what they're really after. And I think Ohio State, on the other hand, is going to see what their future is without Kyle McCord. I think there's a lot of questions maybe around that. I feel like the sentiment maybe nationally is that people are starting to lean towards Missouri, and I think that's really interesting. So I'm going to look at the couple of the matchups that I'm interested in seeing. I want to see Denzel Burke against Luther Burton. I also think that could be a microcosm for how the game goes, how that matchup goes. I'm curious, can the Buckeyes shut down the Tigers like they have everybody else all season? They've done a really good job of that. 4 yards allowed per play in the passing game is absolutely crazy. And so we're going to see that Missouri offense versus that Buckeye defense. I think at the end of the day, Ryan Day is one of the best college football coaches in the country. And say what you want about him, that he's got a Michigan problem. Everybody knows that. That's fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, I think he is one of the best coaches in college football. Eli Drinkwitz, I think he's fantastic too. I mean, a really good get. I think he's an amazing coach. So no disrespect to him. I just think that everybody that when I start hearing, that's picking Missouri thinks Ohio State's down a little bit, maybe not up for this game. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Ryan Day will have those boys ready to play, and I expect that game to be a Buckeye win somewhere in the 24-17 range. All right, so we've got the Peach Bowl now. Penn State versus Ole Miss. Penn State, James Franklin, they're favored by 4 points. If you're a Penn State fan or Penn State hater, there's a lot of people that don't love James Franklin. He's 0-3 versus the SEC in bowl games. A lot of the big games. His record's abysmal versus Ohio State and Michigan. But he does constantly produce one of the best defenses in the country. They've got great players there. On the offensive side of the ball, they just really have a hard time figuring that out. And so that's really the interesting part. And it's no different this season. Their offense is abysmal. It's been abysmal. But both teams struggle against and winning big games here. Lane Kiffin, very entertaining, usually has a great offense. The defense is usually decent, not elite. And again, I would say this year's team is no different there. That Penn State offense, though, has been very, very, very bad. I would say you could look at points per game, yards per play, all of these things. And a lot of that stuff, to me, favors the Ole Miss offense versus the Penn State defense. I like the way that Ole Miss looks in this game. Ole Miss has 6.5 yards per play. Okay, so they're ranked 23rd. Penn State's defense ranked number 1 in yards per play yielded. So something's got to give there. Okay, the 3 best defenses are all in the Big Ten. The 3 best defenses in the country, as far as pass defenses, are all in the Big Ten. Now, I wonder if that has something to do with the lack of elite offenses in the Big Ten. And to me, I think that's probably a little bit true, but also probably these defenses are pretty good. I guess we're going to see this bowl season for sure. Penn State is number 1 in turnover margin. Mississippi's number 12. Now, the difference in that is they're plus 0.75, I think, is Mississippi, and Penn State's plus 1.5 per game, which is astounding. So that's an extra possession and a half. Now, when you have a really good defense and a really bad offense, that can be an equalizer in a game like this. Now, one of the biggest storylines of this game here is that Chop Robinson has declared for the draft. Like, he's an elite pass rusher. He's going to be a high NFL pick, and he's not playing in this game. To me, that is enough to move the needle pretty heavily in Ole Miss's favor. I don't really see a way that Ole Miss doesn't win this football game, and a lot of that just has to do with the fact that I think that the Penn State offense is not very good, and I think you can't play an offense, and I think you can't play an offense like Ole Miss's, no matter how good you are. Ole Miss has seen Georgia. They've seen Alabama. They've seen these big fronts. They've seen aggressive front sevens. They've seen really good corners. They've seen all this, right? What Penn State's going to bring here is nothing new to what Ole Miss has seen in and out every week in the SEC. I think that's going to be one of the big differences. How does Jackson Dart do? How do they run the football? But I think they're going to answer the bell, and I expect them to win 28-17. So that's an Ole Miss win, 28-17. To the Orange Bowl. Oh, this game, man. Every time I see Florida State, I just feel my heart goes out to those guys. It is absolutely, they've just been absolutely gutted by opt-outs for this game. And so this is a really easy one to call. Really doesn't take a whole prediction show, but we'll go through some of the key things here. The line is Georgia by 14.5. FSU has pretty much every key player out. Keon Coleman out. Johnny Wilson out. Obviously, Jordan Travis was injured, and then Trey Benson opting out as well. On offense, that's essentially all of their offensive production for this. It's really sad to watch this broken system of college football claim take a team that was elite, that probably should be in the playoff, that definitely deserved a spot, and now they're just gutted, and these guys are literally going to walk into a bloodbath. So on the other hand, Georgia hasn't announced anybody as opting out, not that I'm aware of. FSU does have an elite defense, and so I haven't seen any of the recent opt-outs there. But Georgia lost one game by 3 points. That was it. They missed the playoffs. I still think they're one of the best 4 teams in the country. And FSU, as we know, went undefeated, did everything they had to do, lost their quarterback, and still missed the playoffs. So Florida State, so on the stat side, there's a few here. So you can basically, in these bowl games, you can throw a lot of the stats out. The ones I think that might be relevant to this game are the FSU defense, 10th in yards per play. The run defense, is 42nd. The FSU pass defense is number 7, and they're tied for 6th in scoring defense. Now, Georgia, on the other hand, their offense is number 6 in yards per play. Georgia's number 9 in scoring, and Georgia's number 40 in rushing offense, and number 10 in passing offense. And so I think what we have here, which is interesting, is at least when Georgia's offense against Florida State's defense is on the field, you've got a strength-on-strength battle. Now, I can tell you this. Florida State's defense is going to be on the field all game long, likely. This, to me, is just, this is the third Florida State team that we're going to see this season, right? You had the one that was elite. You had the elite Florida State team with Jordan Travis, the one that spanked LSU, and then you have the gritty team that's without Jordan Travis, right? Still elite defense, still playmakers, getting it done down the stretch, winning a conference championship, winning a rivalry. And then you've got now the one which we're going to see, which I'm really not looking forward to seeing, is the no Jordan Travis, no Trey Benson, no Johnny Wilson, no Keon Coleman, that team. And so Georgia, on the other hand, they're going to have what sounds to be close to a full roster, a lot of their key guys. Anyway, this is probably the lock bet of all lock bets, I would think. And so I've got the Noles, unfortunately, being getting boat raced by the Bulldogs, 40-14. The Fiesta Bowl, the one that everybody's been waiting for, right? Like another one. This is another one, another victim, shall we say, of the faulty playoff system. Oh man! So could you imagine being the Oregon Ducks? You're playing to possibly go into the playoffs, and then you lose a game by 3 points, and now you're playing Liberty. Now Liberty, this isn't really a knock to Liberty. I'm not trying to knock Liberty. It's really more of the conversation of why this game is even happening, right? And I say that because Liberty has the 132nd strength of schedule. Yes, they're undefeated. Yes, they won their conference and all that, and they're the highest ranked group of 5 team, which is why we have this. The line is Oregon minus 17.5. You've got Liberty does have one of the best offenses in the country. Their run game, they lead the country in rushing. There's a lot of things there you can say positively about Liberty, but they have not played anybody close, not even in the same stratosphere as what they're about to see in Oregon. Bo Nix is playing. Bucky Irving's playing. They've got Oregon does have some opt-outs that are key, so obviously Troy Franklin, the leading receiver, and Jackson Powers Johnson, who, best center in the country. And so that to me those are definitely key missing components. And then you've got a couple key defenders sitting out as well. But Oregon has dominated just about everybody that wasn't named Washington. I think it was over 26-point margin of victory. I'm not really thinking that's probably going to change much in this game. I think the biggest question probably is Oregon going to be motivated to show up? Are they going to be motivated to show up and play in this game? I think they want to give Nix and Irving and the rest of the guys that are there and all the seniors a proper send-off. And I applaud Bo Nix and Bucky Irving for playing in this game. Especially Bo. Like, I feel like this is, when players started opting out. I don't remember, it was 5, 6, 7 years ago, something like that. But when they started opting out, it was people really gave them a hard time. But now it's way more accepted. It's almost expected. And in Bo Nix's case, I think it was almost expected that he would sit out. So, I just got to say hats off to him for coming back and wanting to finish. I'm sure part of this has to do with him just wanting to get that bad taste out of his mouth, losing to Washington twice. And so I know that's a tough one probably for those guys. And so I've got Oregon in a big way, somewhere in that 50-21 range. So that's what I have, 50-21 Ducks. All right, and that's all I got for today. So I want to say thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. If you could, subscribe. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. It helps us out a lot. And if there's anything we can improve on, feel free to reach out to us. Leave it in the comments. Let us know what your thoughts are. And again, subscribe to any of our socials that we have. We've got other long-form podcasts on here. So there's about 3 different podcasts on our YouTube channel you can find. We're on Apple and Spotify as well. So this one's specifically about football, called First and 10. We have Digging Deep with Addie, which is about volleyball. And then we have our regular podcast, which is long-form content where we bring people all around from sports, anywhere. So for First and 10, I'm Josh Rodriguez. And for Sports Idol Nation, sports is in our DNA. We hope it's in yours too. And have a very happy New Year.